going on, MMA fans? I'm here to do an MMA challenge video per the request of Humble King 718. I guess my opponent for this MMA challenge video is Nightmare Barrel 1, which is Markeem, a fellow friend in the MMA YouTube community, and he also does wrestling videos here on YouTube. But my topic for discussion for this video is it's really good. Hats off to Humble for this topic, because really this is a back and forth topic. It really is. And it's on MMA rankings. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to outweigh talk about the good and the bad, and stay unbiased as possible. But there's some things that I will bring up that are my opinions, so they may differ from yours, and that's okay. It's the beauty of the sport. Like I always say, everyone's going to have differing opinions. But nonetheless, the good that we see with the rankings. You can go on different sites and see different rankings. Sheerdog, MMA Junkie, MMA News, and sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're different. And you have the opportunity to go and check these rankings out, at any time, and see what a site says about a fighter and what they don't say. Also, you're getting to see fights based on the rankings, and that are pushing fights based on the rankings in other organizations with cross-promotional fights, which is really good. These are fights that you wouldn't see in organizations like the UFC, WEC, sometimes even with Cage Rage, depending on how the contract's written up. Definitely with the UFC, because you have non-compete contracts there, but the rankings really have helped push these fights, like Fedor, like Tim, for the WAMA World Heavyweight Championship, undisputed. And that's another good thing, is we're seeing organizations like WAMA come in, the World Alliance of Mixed Martial Arts, come in and say, hey, listen, we need unified rules, we need unified judges and reffing, and we need unified rankings. And they're the ones that are pushing this, and are actually putting rankings out, which is awesome. Awesome. Now, the bad side, and some of this is going to be opinionated, some of it's not, and I'll warn you ahead of time if it's my opinion, so that I don't, get off of the unbiased track here. But nonetheless, some things that I don't agree with the MMA ranking system. One of which being, you can get what I call an unrealistic ranking based upon one fight. And this is something similar to like the BCS with college football, and if you're a college football fan, you can attest to how crappy the BCS can be sometimes, because you can have a team that's number one, and God forgive me, and I'm going to just say this ahead of time, because I'm a Southern Cal fan. There's many, many times they've been at number one, and even I didn't agree with them being number one, because their strength of schedule wasn't as strong as another team, even though now the Pac-10 is a stronger division. But nonetheless, let's stay away from football. What I'm talking about, and I'm going to roll back to a fight, and this will really clarify what I'm talking about. Let's travel back, so not long ago, the year of the upset, to UFC 69. George St. Pierre and Matt Serra. And how many MMA fans thought that GSP would just decimate, yes, the word is correct, decimate Matt Serra. I'm guilty. I'm one of them. I'll say it right now. And a lot of us did. A lot of us thought that GSP would just beat Matt Serra in every facet of the MMA game. And then Matt Serra comes out with a right hook. Actually, it wasn't even a right hook. It was a right cross that hits St. Pierre between the ear and the jaw and drops him. And then the fight, is pretty self-explanatory at that point of what happens next. But based off of one fight, Matt Serra became the number one fighter in the world. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the Fight Finder up, which I rarely ever do. And in this situation, I am, because I'm stopped up, I'm sick, can't think this morning. But I just want to run over who Matt Serra fought at 170 before the title shot that, even if he wins the title, would put him at number 1. And here's my view of this: that you cannot hold a title and still be the best welterweight in the world based upon who you fought and who you beat. That's really where I don't agree with the MMA ranking system. Now, a win over GSP, a win over Chris Lytle, who is really a low top 10, even a top 15 if you want to push it as far as welterweights go. And he lost to Caro. Just because you win a title doesn't mean that you're the number 1 fighter in the world. I don't care what weight class it is or what strength, and this is an opinionated thing. This isn't being unbiased, but in my opinion, I don't care how strong the division is or, who's in the division. You don't beat one guy and then automatically become the number 1 fighter in the world. You better have a strength of who you've beaten up to this point to relay that. Now, at 155, Matt Serra's got some impressive wins. There's no doubt about it. He beat Yves Edwards, who at the time, back in this time, was one of the top lightweights in the world. But that's my viewpoint, is you can be a champion in an organization. Perfect example, let's just go to an organization I used to watch, World Extreme Fighting. You win a title there against a guy that is a decent, welterweight or light heavyweight or whichever division you want to talk about, and you win. That doesn't propel you to be the number 1 fighter in the world. Just because you hold a title, even if it's the strongest weight class in the world, if you haven't beaten the best guys, you don't deserve that title of number 1. And that's how I look at it. You can make the argument, and a lot of people do this with Fedor being inactive, and really, that argument is two-sided. You can argue for it, and you can argue against, and really, you're not wrong. I mean, that's how I look at it. I know some people may not agree with that, but, Fedor didn't fight for a long time. He didn't fight the best guys in the world. But at the time that he did fight some of the best guys in the world. So really, that's a really, muddled up situation. But that's where the rankings really are rough, because, at least how I look at it, you shouldn't become the number 1 fighter in the world just off of a title. It really should be who you fought. And that's where I felt that even though Matt Serra won, it should have moved him to 2 instead of 1, and GSP still should have been the number 1 fighter in the world. And then GSP comes back when Matt Serra's inactive, beats Josh Koscheck, beats Matt Hughes, and still we see Matt Serra called the number 1 fighter in the world. So that's where I disagree with the ranking system. Another really rough thing about the ranking system that I still kind of have an issue with is that too many websites are looked upon as the proponent that they have the best rankings, and really some of the websites' rankings aren't always, at least to me, up to par with really where fighters are and where they are at in their training, injuries, where they're at in their career, later in their career, so on and so forth. But that's where it really should be left up to, like I said, about the good things about WAMA. WAMA's a perfect, ideal organization that is an outside source that brings all the organizations of MMA in, says, come here, here's how we're going to do it. You're going to follow these rules everywhere, so that MMA is in whole, a unified body and a unified system. So that you don't have organizations like the British Medical Association looking at you going, you got way too much crap going on, you got way too much inconsistency, what's going on here? And that's why a lot of people look down at MMA, is because of the inconsistencies. And the ranking system could be viewed as one of them, and I just stated how I felt about that. So nonetheless, I gave my opinions on this topic. I also tried to stay unbiased as possible. Leave me some comments, constructive, negative, positive. Let me know what you think. And on that note, you guys, have a great day.